I don't know how exactly I want to talk about this, but we have to talk about it. Florida, the good news, I guess, is they scored 70 yesterday. The bad news is Samford scored 52. Now, Dan Mullen would lead you to believe that's not bad. Dan Mullen was propagating one of the big lies in college football in the postgame yesterday. So, certain people in your life, I'm thinking of a couple in my life, certain people in your life, you know how when you were growing up, or maybe even right now, everybody has that one or two folks in your life that you would never accept from what you would let your friends get away with. You and your friends, you have this code, you have this line of joking and ribbing that you will accept from one another. But if an outsider came in and said the exact same thing to you, you'd cut them off mid-sentence. You just won't take it. There's some people who are so annoying, or there's some people whose sense of humor sucks so bad that you want nothing to do with, to the point where you would not accept out of their mouth what you would accept out of your friends' mouths. That's kind of the way Florida folks are feeling towards Dan Mullen right now. And for that matter, it's the way a lot of people are feeling towards Dan Mullen. When Dan Mullen's winning, some of his weirdness, some of his idiosyncrasies, and some of the things he says and some of his actions, they're kind of funny. You kind of laugh at them and you say, well, I guess you can get away with that when you're doing what he's doing. But the problem is, if you're not doing that whole winning thing, then it just is lame. And so yesterday, Dan Mullen in Florida beat Samford 70-52. They trailed at the half 42-35. It was all kinds of record setting for Samford. Not Stanford, for those unfamiliar, Samford. And so after the game, the big lie I'm talking about is Dan Mullen got asked, I dare a reporter down there, a reporter dared to ask Dan Mullen about the disappointing first half that Florida had. Again, as they trailed Samford 42-35 in the Swamp. And Dan Mullen said that that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful to winning, to phrase it like that. And he even went as far as to invoke a Trent Crimm reference. For those of you who have not seen Ted Lasso, it's lame. It was a lame reference. And I actually watched Ted Lasso. And I don't watch hardly anything new except Yellowstone, which I'll be doing as soon as I get home tonight. But I watched Ted Lasso. And Trent Crimm's one of my favorite characters, Trent Crimm, the Independent. And basically what Dan Mullen was trying to do was he was trying to be funny, and it really wasn't because the situation didn't call for it, and he was trying to flex on the fact that he has a little cultural acknowledgement of certain things that exist outside of football, to which your typical Florida fan on a message board would say, maybe you need to be watching less Ted Lasso and you need to be coaching more. That's what you need to be doing. I don't know that they're wrong, actually, when they say that. Here's what Dan Mullen did. Dan Mullen propagated the big lie, at least one of them. One of the big lies in college football is a win is a win. That is not true. In pro football, it is. In college football, a win is not a win. I can assure you what Baylor did against Oklahoma yesterday has a whole lot more value and meaning than what Florida did against Samford. And I can assure you, because of the, not gap, but gulf between the haves and the have-nots, or the haves and the haves-lesses in this sport, you've got certain standards you have to meet in order to achieve satisfaction amongst your fan base, even if you win. Florida obviously did not meet that yesterday, but Dan Mullen didn't want to acknowledge that. Now that's all well and good because of the next thing. Dan Mullen's not going to be the coach at Florida in 2022, so all of this is going to be a moot point. This has turned pretty quickly. I think it's turned in the last month. Told you last week, Dan Mullen's not getting his team back. When they're gone, they're gone. And the only difference between Florida in 2021 and Florida in 2020 is this team, when it quit on Dan Mullen, still had a month's worth of football left to play, whereas the team last year quit before the bowl game, so at least that was the finish line. You don't get teams back. Once they walk out the door, they're gone. There is no re-entry. Dan Mullen's not going to be the coach at Florida next year. I have very little doubt about that. I have not spoken to anyone who I consider semi-informed on the matter today that thought otherwise. Everyone thinks it's a matter of when at this point, not if, but the two things that I refuse to hear from anyone who does push back on this is, number one, it's not time, because it is. That's a side note. The two things I refuse to hear are, well, you know, he's got that buyout, $12 million, got that buyout. I was standing on the field in Waco, Texas yesterday, and they awarded a family who had given $100 million to the university. Not 1,000, not even 1 million, 100 million. And I had Stats and Info crunch the numbers. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is 8 zeros. Florida's haggling over what? Some people are concerned over what? $12 million. If you want to flex that SEC muscle, Flex it when it's time. Don't flex it when Georgia wins a Sugar Bowl and you just chant SEC along with everyone else. No, when it's time to flex the SEC muscle, it's when you may need to get off that back pocket, that hip pocket where that wallet's supposed to be, and maybe you need to pay a couple extra dollars to rectify a situation that is past needing to be rectified. First thing I won't hear is Florida can't afford it. The second thing I will not hear is the market is too crowded. Because I had someone come at me with this yesterday. Well, it's not the best of times for Florida to be looking for a new coach. I asked why. They said, well, you know, LSU is already open and USC is already open. And I reiterate, this is Florida. This is not Florida A&M. It is Florida. No offense to the Rattlers, but you get what I'm saying? Sometimes I think people outside of Gainesville think more highly of the status and stature of this program than some people inside the bubble. There's this weird inferiority complex, at least amongst some of the Gator folks I talk to, that they don't measure up. Just because you're not measuring up on the field right now, that's totally isolated and separate from what the right pool of candidates thinks you would be capable of if they led your program. And so I'm not going to listen to anyone tell me Florida can't afford it. I'm certainly not going to listen to anyone say, give them a little more time, it's not time yet. And I'm not going to listen to anyone tell me, well, Florida, the University of, can't be competitive in the open market. Are you kidding me? If you feel that way and you are a decision maker, if you're a decision maker at Florida and you feel the market being too crowded is a deterrent and you can't hang and your job is not of elite caliber, you need to get out of the way and let other people make decisions. And for that matter, if you're undecided right now and you're looking at these upcoming games, Missouri and Florida State, and you're saying, well, let's let the outcomes there decide this, you also need to get out of the way. If anyone around Florida is looking at these last two games and saying, I don't know yet whether Mullen's still our guy, but I'll tell you what, I'll know after a game in Columbia, Missouri, or I'll know after a game against Florida State. You don't have a proper perspective on how this stuff works, and you need to get out of the way and let someone who has a lot more grip on rationale make the decision. There is nothing you're going to learn over the next 2 weeks you don't already know about Dan Mullen. Now, if you want to tell me I've seen enough, he's still my guy, we'll just agree to disagree. But if you look at me and you say, I don't know about it yet, next 8 quarters of football will tell the tale. After however many years, next 8 quarters of football will tell the tale, where a bounce of a ball or a boink off the upright could change a win to a loss or a loss to a win. You don't need to see anymore. And so those are some of the things that I got pushback on yesterday that I just dismiss wholesale. Can't afford it, crowded market, well, let's let him finish the season, then we'll make a decision. You can let him finish the season, but your decision should long since have been made by this point, because I can't see this continuing into 2022. Can't see it. Sample size is plenty big enough. If Dan Mullen shows up at SEC Media Days next summer, the fans will go crazy. That's true. The problem is it's the fans in Athens and Tallahassee and Baton Rouge, and you get the point there.